Good afternoon to all. Welcome to this 32nd lecture of the course Computational Fluid Dynamics. In our previous lecture, we have seen some of the fundamental iterative methods as Jacobi and Gauss-Seidel, and then we have seen some relaxation methods where we have seen one relaxation factor which is also associated with our Jacobi and the Gauss-Seidel methods. Okay, and that relaxation value can be taken as 0 to 1. So when it is considered from 0 to 1, then the method is referred to as under relaxation, and when we are considering the value greater than 1, then method is called as over relaxation. Okay, and the implication of the relaxation is that if we are choosing the optimal value of relaxation factor, it will be making our convergence fast. Okay, now we will be further seeing a few more methods which will be actually giving us more faster convergence. So these methods are nothing but based on the gradient. So gradient based methods we will try to see, but before that we will also try to see that TDMA algorithm can also be employed for two-dimensional problems where our original matrix is not of tridiagonal structure, but if we use this method in an iterative manner, it can be employed for two-dimensional and three-dimensional problems in an iterative manner. Okay, so let us first try to see applications of TDMA for 2D and 3D problems. Okay, so let us first start with the two-dimensional case. So in case of two-dimensional case, we will be having our grid structure something like this. So all of you have actually seen this kind of structure. So we will be having actually two coordinates, x and y, and this will be our grid structure will be something like this. Okay, and these are my different control volumes. So in these different control volumes, the centroid of each control volume will be nothing but our node point. Okay, so that is something which we do in our fundamental approach of FVM based discretization. Now what we will be doing, if you see in a two-dimensional, let me consider over here this is nothing but a two-dimensional diffusion problem. So for this type of problem, my equation will be del square phi by del x square plus del square phi by del y square. So this is nothing but an elliptic equation. Okay, and let us consider that at different boundaries some values are specified, and if we are considering finite volume approach, so obviously we have to consider the nodes at the boundaries also, which will be helping us in transporting the properties from the boundary nodes to the internal nodes. So for finite volume approach, these will be acting as nothing but my boundary nodes. So the nodes which I am marking on different boundaries of this domain, these are our boundary nodes. Okay, now one advantage of this particular finite volume approach you will be finding, say you are giving some different values to this boundary. Say to this boundary you are giving some value as 100, and to this boundary you are giving as value as say 50. So for this entire boundary phi is 100, say for this boundary phi is equal to 50. So if you go with the another discretization approach is, you may find that if your discretization approach is in such a way so that there is the huge of this corner node is coming. So when the huge of corner node is coming, you will be finding some singularity over here. Okay, so what will be the singularity? Singularity will be that from this side value is coming 100, from this side value is coming 50. So you will not find the correct estimate that with what value you should progress your solution. Okay, however, we are lucky enough over here because we are doing finite volume based discretization, and while we are considering the finite volume based discretization, our boundary nodes are this and this. So these boundary nodes are not lying on the corner point, so they are having some well-defined value. Okay, so this is one advantage over here we could see when we are going with the finite volume based discretization, when we are considering our nodes at the centroid of the control volume. Okay, so this is one initial point. Now our main focus is on the solution methods. So let me consider arbitrarily any random node. So say this is my node P, which is under consideration, and I will be having different nodes. One will be north node, south node, east and west, which will be the immediate neighbors of this node P. Okay, so now when I will be writing the discretized form of the equation for this node P, it will be having general form AP into phi P equal to AE into phi E plus AW into phi W plus AN into phi N plus AS into phi S. Okay, so this will be my discretized form of equation, and I have not included any source term over here, so that's why I'm not writing B. Otherwise I could have written over here one additional term B also. So how I have written this equation, is this clear to all? So this is something which we have seen in our earlier lectures. Okay,
yes,
this is clear. Okay,
yes.
okay, so now if you consider over here, you will be finding that this arrangement will result in pentadiagonal matrix structure, because all the when you will be writing this equation for different nodes, you will be finding that AP, all the AP coefficients will lie along the principal diagonal. We will be having AW and AE in the immediate next two diagonals, and AN and AS will be actually going into the pentadiagonal arrangement. So we will be finding that our matrix will be of pentadiagonal nature. Okay, so when matrix is of pentadiagonal nature, then obviously we are having some complications in finding out the direct solution. Okay, so what we will be doing over here, we will try to take the advantage of TDMA, but while we are taking the advantage of TDMA, we have to forcefully make our system as nothing but tridiagonal. Okay, so in order to force the system to become tridiagonal, what we will be doing, let me write in the next slide. I will be writing that minus AW into phi W. So AW phi W I am bringing to the left hand side. Okay, plus AP into phi P minus AE into phi E. This will be equal to nothing but AN into phi N plus AS into phi S. Okay, now let me consider that I am writing some superscript N. So this N over here will refer nothing but our iteration level. Okay, and this N I will write in the superscript. So what I am doing, I am writing this N over here, this N over here, this N over here, and on the right hand side I am writing my level as N minus 1. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? The meaning of this, when we are performing nth iteration, at that time we are considering implicit scheme. We are considering the implicit scheme only along x direction, and along the y direction, whatever our coefficients and phi values are there, we are considering that these are temporarily known from the previous iteration. Okay, this point is clear? So when we take this kind of assumption, in this case what will be happening, this right hand side will become known, and only unknowns now I will be having along the left hand side. So if I am temporarily forcing the right hand side to become known, so in that case, what will be happening? I will be finding that my left hand side, for the left hand side, I will be actually getting my solution along x direction. Okay, so it means now my metric system will become, after making this forceful arrangement, now my metric system will become nothing but tri-diagonal. Okay, so I will be getting tri-diagonal metric system. So if I have tri-diagonal metric system, I can easily employ now, easily employ TDMA. Okay, so TDMA will be giving us fast solution. But over here, why I am saying that we have to perform this solution in an iterative manner, because this right hand side, whatever I have considered, this we are considering known from the previous iteration. So it means we are actually kind of deferring the actual correction into our solution. So we have to do the solution in an iterative fashion, and we have to find out that when our results are actually converging between the consecutive iteration levels, then only we will say that okay, we have reached to the converged solution. Okay, so when you will be starting the solution, so this is something which I have written a very generalized form for nth iteration by considering that values are known at n minus 1th iteration. Okay, but while proceeding the solution from the starting itself, what we do, we initially take some initial guess for all 5 values. Okay, so we have to initially take initial guess for all 5, and once we have taken the initial guess for all 5 values, then that guess will become our nothing but right hand side, which we will be considering as known, and then we will be performing our first iteration. Okay, so right now I have written this equation only for node P. So this was my node P. Now what I have done, in x direction I am considering that my values are unknown, and in y direction I am considering that values are known. Okay, so it means what I have to do over here, when I have to process the solution, I have to proceed the solution, I have to move in line by line fashion. Okay, so I cannot select randomly any node. What I will do, say I will first consider this horizontal line. So this is my first horizontal line. So first I will be writing my equation for this node. Say this is my node number 1, this is node number 2, this is 3, this is node number 0 as the boundary node, this is 4, 5, and say this is 6. So my first equation I will be writing for the node number 1, and while I will be writing the equation for node number 1, that will be becoming minus A050 plus A151 minus A252, and that will become, say, if I have now node number 7, 8, 9 over here, and here also I could have given some numbers. So let me write over here numbers as 1 dash, 2 dash, 3 dash. Okay, and this like this. So then what will be my equation? Can you tell me? In the right hand side, I will be getting A8 into 5/8 plus A1 dash into 5/1 dash. Okay, so now this I will be estimating for my first iteration. Okay, so this will be at iteration level 1, and this I will be taking as iteration level 0 or my initial guess. So this I have written for first node. Similarly, I will be writing this equation for which node? Node number 2. So for node number 2 also I will write similar equation. Can you tell me what is the equation for node number 2? Minus A153
plus A252 minus A353.
all are at iteration level
1.
Then I'll be having
A959 plus A2 days 52 days.
okay. So like this, the way I have written for first two nodes, like this, I will be first writing the equations for all the nodes lying on this horizontal line. Okay. And I will be getting some system of equations. I will be getting some system of equations A phi equal to B. And this system of equations I will be solving using TDMA. So I'll be applying TDMA for this system of equations to solve it. So now our solution is not over because it is only calculated for line number 1. Then what I will do next, I will go to which line? Another line in the horizontal direction. So in this case, you will be finding that these values, while you will be writing, now let us write down the equation for node number 8 and 9. So can you tell me what is the equation? Equation for node number 8.
A757 plus, no sir, plus minus A757 plus A858 minus A959
Equal to
equal
correct. So these I will be calculating at iteration level 1. And now if you see A15, I have to consider from 0, but A1, but this phi 1 value already we have got from our iteration. So now phi 1 I will be using actually, because in the previous line we have already found the solution. So I will be using now new phi 1 over here. Okay, this point is correct. So whatever I have just conveyed, is it clear? Okay. So this way, what we have to do, we are processing our solution line by line. So now we will be writing all the equations for this line. We will solve that and then we will go to the next line. So it means line by line, we will be progressing our solution. So now here, if you see, we are moving from bottom to top side. So the direction in which we move our lines, that particular direction is called as nothing but sweep direction. Okay, so this is the direction of sweep in which we are moving our solution, we are marching our solution actually line by line. Okay, now what will be happening? What will be happening over here? You can see that when you are finding out the value at point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these values are nothing but depending upon the boundary values at all the boundary nodes which are lying at this particular bottom boundary. So it means your solution is actually marching from bottom boundary, and that solution you are sweeping into your core domain. Okay, so what you will be doing after first iteration, you will be getting some values of phi. You will be finding out the residuals. You will be comparing with previous iteration phi, and if your solution is not converged, you have to further proceed the next iteration. So over here, TDMA at each iteration level is actually giving you nothing but the direct estimate of the phi parameters. Okay, so this method helps in improving the computational efficiency of the system, of the solution method. Okay, however, what we have to do, if every time you consider that you are moving your solution in this sweep direction only, then you may find the convergence rate may delay further. But convergence rate can be further improved if instead of considering the sweep direction only in a single direction, you are alternatingly switching between the sweep directions. So for example, first time if you have applied the solution along the horizontal lines and you have taken sweep direction from bottom to top, now next time instead of using these horizontal lines, you can find out the solution along which line? Vertical line, and that vertical solution you can sweep from left side to right side. So in that case, what will be happening? You will be having actually your core will be immediately influenced by the boundaries, the solution which is actually marching from all the boundaries. Okay, so this is how, by using alternate switching in between the sweep directions, you can further improve the convergence of the solver. Okay, so this point is clear.
Yes, sir.
Now if you have to apply the same scheme for three-dimensional system, can you do by your own? So what will happen in three-dimensional system? Let me just give you only the brief idea. Details you can do by your own, because it is very, very simple and similar to what we have done over here. Okay, so now let us consider that in this three-dimensional system, this is our top, bottom. Okay, this is our, say, north direction, this is south direction, and this is, let us consider as east and west direction. So over here, what we will be doing, we will be taking first some plane. Okay, so first we will take some plane, and over this plane also we will be considering multiple lines. Say this is my first line, this is another line, this is third line. So depending upon our grid points. Okay, so first we will be finding the solution on one line, and that we will be sweeping line to line in some specific direction, say over here east to west. And then once we have found the solution at the entire plane, then we will be taking another plane, okay, the immediate next plane, and then we will be shifting our solution from one plane to another plane. So we will be having over here first sweep direction for lines, and then we will be having immediately sweep direction for planes also. Okay, so over here the procedure is very, very simple, but if you consider any node P, so the equation for node P will become AP phi P equal to AE phi E plus AW phi W plus AN phi N plus AS phi S plus phi T plus AB phi B. Okay, so you will be having over here many coefficients. Now, depending upon in which direction you want to first proceed the solution, others you have to consider as nothing but as known parameter from the previous iteration. Okay, so this is one special use of TDMA algorithm. When it is employed in iterative manner, it can help in fast convergence of the solution for two-dimensional and three-dimensional problems. Okay, so can you extend this detailed solution for three-dimensional situation by your own? Okay, so now let me give you one more approach. This is also very, very important approach, which is specifically known as alternate direction implicit scheme. And this alternate direction implicit scheme is also very, very similar to that of this TDMA approach, but what we have employed over here. But the key difference is that TDMA approach we have over here employed for steady situations. This alternate direction implicit scheme mainly we employ for our transient situation, okay, in unsteady manner. However, it can also be employed for steady situation, because when we will be performing our solution, when we will be marching our solution with the time, we will be finding that for larger times our gradients will become 0. So time derivative will become 0, and we will be finding that our solution will reach to nothing but a steady state. So this can be employed for solution of this can be even employed for solution of steady problems. And majority of the times you will be finding that even apart from the direct solution of elliptic equations, in comparison to that, this particular alternate direction implicit scheme will result in fast convergence of the solution. Okay, so as I told you that we will be having some elliptic equation. So let me write gamma times del square phi by del x square plus del square phi by del y square. But this elliptic equation we have to solve in some unsteady manner. Okay, so in order to solve it in unsteady manner, what I will be doing, I will make it del phi by del t over here. Okay, now if I have to employ over here implicit Crank-Nicolson scheme, what will be happening? If I have to employ over here implicit Crank-Nicolson scheme, what I will be getting? I will be finding phi at n plus 1 minus phi n divided by delta t. Okay, and let me consider this, we are calculating at point I comma j, because we are having two-dimensional system. So indices I am writing as I comma j. That will be equal to gamma time. Over here, let me write one shorter notation, del square phi by del x square at time level n, and this let me write gamma by 2 plus del square by del y square phi n plus del square by del x square at phi n plus 1 plus del square phi del square by del y square phi at n plus 1. Now is this point clear how I have written this? So nothing but we are trying to find out the value of, we are trying to estimate the value of phi at point I comma j, and we are having temporal derivative also. So to specify the temporal derivative, we are using time level n in the superscript. Okay, so if we are employing Crank-Nicolson scheme, what Crank-Nicolson scheme does, it first estimates the, it takes the actually average of the values from two different time levels. So that average I have taken over here, and the advantage of using Crank-Nicolson scheme is it increases the order of accuracy. Okay, it makes our entire scheme as nothing but second order accurate. Now over here I have used some operators, del square by del x square and del square by del y square. Now let us talk about the definition of these operators. So I am writing as del square phi by del x square will be nothing but equal to phi at point I plus 1 comma j minus 2 phi ij plus phi I minus 1 j. Okay, divided by delta x square. So this is the definition of this operator del square by del x square. When it is applied on phi, it will take this form which I have just now written. Okay, similarly if I apply the operator del square by del y square on phi, it will give me the equation as nothing but phi at point I comma j plus 1 minus 2 phi ij plus phi I j minus 1 divided by delta y square. Okay, so this is the definition of these two operators. Now when this operator is employed on phi at time level n, then all my superscripts over here, time levels will be n, and when it is employed at n plus 1, then all will be n plus 1 over here. Okay, so over here nothing but we are marching our solution from one time level to the next time level. Okay, so what we will be doing for this equation, now this equation we will be actually splitting into set of two equations, and the equations will take the form. So first I will try to split operators involving n plus 1 values. So I will get the two factored equations as 1 minus gamma del t by 2 into phi ij star equal to 1 plus gamma del t by 2 So this operator also I have missed over here. Let me write this operator also. So it was del square by del x square. And here I will be using operator del square by del y square times phi ij at time level n. So this is my first factored equation, and my second equation will be 1 minus gamma delta t by 2 into del square by del y square at phi n plus 1, that will be equal to 1 plus gamma delta t by 2 del square by del x square times phi ij at time level n, sorry, corresponding to star. So now if you see, this is one very interesting equation. So first what we are doing, first we are considering that all the discretized quantities, all the values of phi which we are getting along y discretization terms, these we are considering that these are known from time level n. And based on that, in x direction we have actually employed the implicit scheme which will make our system tri-diagonal, and we will be able to estimate the values of phi, but we are calling these values of phi as nothing but some intermediate values. Then once we have obtained the values in x direction, these values we are using, and we are using then further implicit correction along the y direction to actually estimate the value at point n plus 1. So basically the use of this factorization makes us to try to get tri-diagonal system and with second order accurate time scheme. Okay, this point is clear?
Crank-Nicolson scheme is the combination of implicit and explicit. So sir, why we use only implicit here?
Sorry, can you say again?
Crank-Nicolson scheme is combination of implicit and explicit scheme. Then sir, why we use only implicit, sir? In the
No.
previous
Crank-Nicolson overall is an implicit scheme, and it uses the combination of known values and unknowns. So if you see this right hand side of my equation, so I have used few values at time level n and few at n plus 1. So this will make that we are using the values at both the time levels, but as we are having over here two-dimensional situation, so this n plus 1 the unknowns at time level n plus 1 will result in pentadiagonal system. Okay. Now, to make this pentadiagonal system tridiagonal, we are actually doing the factorization of this main equation, and while we are factoring this equation, we are considering that first in x direction as implicit and y direction as explicit. Means we are considering y parameters are known, and then whatever the intermediate values we have got in x direction, these we are using for correcting the y direction in implicit fashion. Is this point clear?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so this alternate direction implicit scheme is clear to all. So it is nothing but it is a simple Crank-Nicolson scheme, but the Crank-Nicolson scheme will result in a pentadiagonal system which will be difficult to solve. So in order to achieve, or in order to have the advantage of solving a tridiagonal system, in order to take that advantage, what we are doing over here, we are actually using, or we are factorizing our main equation. We are splitting into two equations, and while we are splitting it into two equations, first we are considering implicit along x direction, and we are obtaining some intermediate values for all the node points along the x direction by considering that values in y direction are known from the previous iteration. So this will result in a tridiagonal system, and we will be easily able to estimate the values. Okay, then whatever the values in x direction, intermediate values we have got, these values we are using in order to make our scheme implicit in the y direction in the next step. Okay, so that will give us actually the final solution. Okay, now let us start our discussion on the gradient based methods. So our next point is gradient based methods. So gradient based methods is a very important topic in the solution of CFD schemes. So while we perform the iterative solution, we used to take the correction from previous iteration level, but in what direction we are proceeding that correction step, that is something which is not known to us. Okay, and if we move our correction step in certain specific direction, and we choose that direction in such a way so that it can bring our solution close to the or it can progress our solution in a more rapid way, or it advances in such a way so that we are immediately, or we are approaching to the correct solution at faster rate, then our convergence of the method will be improved. Okay, so the basis of gradient based method is that only. So here we specify certain directions in which we have to progress our solution from the one iteration level to another iteration level, and that will help us in achieving the faster convergence. Okay, so let us first start. What we are having, generally we take our system as A into phi equal to B. So that is our system of equations which we get in majority of our CFD conditions. Okay, now let us first make some assumptions. So whatever the gradient based methods we will be studying over here, these will be applicable for some specific type of systems. Okay, so what are the assumptions for these gradient based methods is that, first assumption is that A should be the matrix A which we are getting over here, this should be symmetric. So what is the condition for A to be symmetric? A transpose has to be equal to A. And second thing is A has to be positive definite. So what is the condition for positive definite matrix? The condition for positive definite matrix is that, say if I take any matrix Z, so Z transpose into A into Z has to be greater than 0. So either this condition has to satisfy, or all eigenvalues should be positive. All eigenvalues of matrix A should be positive. Clear? So whatever this gradient based methods we are employing over here, we will be using only for the systems for which we are having symmetric matrices, and A matrix, whatever we are considering, that should be positive definite. Okay. Now what we do in case of gradient based methods, we define some function. Okay. So we define some function, and that function f will be, so I'll be defining some function f of phi, which will be nothing but, say, half of phi transpose into A into phi minus B transpose into phi, and let me also add some constant C over here. So this is something, this function I have defined over here as f of phi. And if our matrix A specifies the conditions of symmetric and positive definite, in that case we will be finding that this function f of phi will be nothing but a minimum function. So it will be a minimum function. So it means if it is a minimum function, so what we have to do, we will progress our solution in such a fashion so that our objective is to minimize the value of f of phi. So we are taking one objective that we have to minimize f of phi. So what we have to do, we have to minimize f of phi. Now let us first take some general system of equations and let us apply on that general system of equation what will be the definition, detailed formulation of f. That let us try to see. So let me write that f of phi is nothing but equal to, so when we write A phi equal to B, you find that phi is nothing but a column matrix. You will be finding phi 1, phi 2, so on up to phi n. So if you take transpose of phi, that will be nothing but half of, what will be transpose of phi? It will be a row matrix.
Yes, sir.
So it will be phi 1, phi 2, so on up to phi n. Then I'll be having A matrix. So what is A matrix? A11, say let us consider A matrix is having elements as A11, A12, so on up to A1n, then A21, A22, A2n. Similarly, I'll be having AN1, AN2, and finally I will be getting ANn. Okay, so this is my A matrix. Now I have to write phi. So phi is nothing but phi 1, phi 2, and phi n. Then I have to write B transpose. Can you tell me what will be B transpose? Will it be a column matrix or row matrix?
Row matrix, sir.
Be row. Okay. So B1, B2, so on up to Bn, and then I will be having this multiplied with
Column.
phi 1, phi 2, so on up to phi n, and then I have some another constant C over here. Okay. So now let us first multiply this A matrix into phi. So if I multiply A matrix into phi, I'll be finding f of phi as, what I'll be finding f of phi as half of phi1, phi2, phi n times A11 phi1, A12 phi2, A1n phi n, correct? Similarly, I'll be having AN1 phi1, AN2 phi2, ANN phi n. Okay, and then I'll be having minus B. So B transpose was B1, B2, Bn times phi, phi1, phi2, phi n, and plus C. Some constant also I'm adding over here. Okay. Now let me write final formulation of f of phi. So f of phi will become half of phi1 times this entire first row. So it will be becoming A11 phi1 plus A12. Can you tell me what I'll be getting over here? If you see, this was my n by n and this was 1 by n. So what I had got?
Sir, n cross n.
N cross n.
Multiply.
Yeah. Now can you tell me here what I will be getting? If I multiply this half and phi1, this matrix with this. So this is my 1 by n and this is
N by n. So 1 cross n.
1 cross n. Can you tell me what will be the elements?
Sir, the
Half of
first row. First row of
phi1.
n.
Okay, tell me. Half of phi1 into
First row of the n cross n matrix.
first row. Okay, so that will be becoming A11 phi1 plus A12 phi2 plus so on up to A1n phi n. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, I'll be having plus half of phi2 times A21 phi1 plus A22 phi2 plus A2n phi n. Then I will be having some intermediate entries and finally half of phi n times an1 phi 1 plus an2 phi 2 plus so on up to ann phi n. Okay. So this is for the first multiplication. From the second multiplication, I'll be finding minus b1 phi 1. Let me write it in bracket plus b2 phi 2 plus so on up to bn phi n plus c. So this is my entire function f of phi. Now I have already told you that we have to, our objective is we have to minimize this f of phi. So if we have to minimize f of phi, what we have to do? Where we find minimum of the function? Do I need to calculate gradient of f and set it equal to 0?
Yes, sir.
So the minimum, for finding out the minimum of the function, what we do? We first take the gradient of that one and we set it equal to 0. So if I take gradient of function and set it equal to 0, so I have to estimate first, say del f by del phi 1 equal to 0. Then similarly, I have to estimate as del f by del phi 2 equal to 0 and so on up to del f by del phi n equal to 0. So now let us calculate del f by del phi 1. What will be del f by del phi 1? First, if you take
1/2 will be common, and then sir A1151 plus A2152, then it will goes to the end. At the last term will be phi n A n1.
okay, then further,
Sir, the last term will be A n1 phi n, not A1n.
we are talking about first row, na? So it will be A1 and 5.
No, sir. We are going to differentiate with respect to the phi n.
We are differentiating first with reference to I1.
Yes.
Okay. So this is nothing but two functions, u into v. Okay. So first I have differentiated phi1, first one, that is 1. So it has resulted in 1/2 times of this entire row. Fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So tell me what next I'll be getting. If I apply chain rule over here, now I have to differentiate this v first. So when I'll be differentiating v, what I'll be finding? A11 into half of phi1, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Plus half of A11 into phi1. Now let me differentiate this second term. So when I'll be differentiating the second term, I will be only getting differentiation of this phi1 as A21. Okay. So this will make half of A21 into phi2.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, I will be getting half of A31 into phi3 plus half of A1n into, sorry, AN1 into phi n. Okay. So this is my differentiation of first part. What about second part? Here I will be simply getting minus b1 and differentiation of constant c will be 0. So I will be getting minus b1. Now if you see half of A11 phi1 and this entire series over here also I am finding the same entire series. So from here I can simply write that my del f by del phi1 is nothing but equal to A11 phi1 plus A21 phi2 plus so on up to a n1 phi n minus b1 equal to 0. Okay. So this is nothing but, similarly if you do del f by del phi2, what you will be getting? Please tell me. If you do del f by del phi2, what you will be getting? Will you get equation something like this?
Yes, sir.
So now it means if you write gradient of f, that will be becoming del f by del phi1, del f by del phi2, so on up to del f by del phi n equal to 0. And now if you see this gradient del f by del phi1, del f by del phi2, these have become nothing but the different equations which we will be getting if we multiply our matrices A phi equal to B. So simply,
Sir, in the matrix A, Is A21 will be equal to A12?
Yes, it is a symmetric matrix.
Okay, okay, sir.
So now finally I will be getting that divergence of f equal to 0 is nothing but a times phi minus b equal to 0. This point is clear.
Yes.
So it means, this is the basis of gradient based methods. In gradient based methods, we define some function, and this function is defined in such a way so that if we minimize this function, we start with our objective of minimizing the function, we will be getting nothing but our system of solution for system of equations. Okay. So further, how the gradient of this function can be employed for merging the solution between the different iteration levels, that we will try to see in our subsequent lecture. And now I'll stop at this point. Okay. So if you are having any questions, that you may discuss.